Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're driving on Highway 2000. This leg of the highway is called the PJ Patterson Highway. As you can see, it's a very nice road, one of the nicest roads in Jamaica. But persons don't remember how hard it was to build this road. I mean the problems. So we're going to look at the history behind Highway 2000. Okay. Now, this highway, Highway 2000, remains the largest project ever implemented in Jamaica. The largest project. It cost over 1.3 billion US dollars. And the highway is not, the project, is not yet complete. Now, Highway 2000, it's to run from Kingston to Montego Bay. The premise behind that is you should be able to connect both international airports in Jamaica and also the two main cities. Also, the highway runs from Kingston to Ocho Rios, and the premise behind that was you should be able to get to the tourist attractions quickly. So that was the premise behind building the highway. Now, it was not easy to build this highway. At the time, nothing like this had ever been done in Jamaica. To say to somebody, invest 1 billion US dollars in Jamaica was unheard of. So let's look at the history about how this highway was built. And this highway is called the PJ Patterson Highway. It's named after a former Prime Minister of Jamaica who was instrumental in building this highway. We are not a political channel. We hardly call the name of a political party or of a politician. But we have to say thank you to Mr. Patterson, because without Mr. Patterson being Prime Minister at the time and channeling this, making this project a top priority of his administration, I'm not sure it would have been built. And it was nice, or it was very fitting to name this leg of the highway after him, the PJ Patterson Highway. Okay, so let's look at the history of this highway now. Now, the concept of this highway actually started with the managing director of the Development Bank of Jamaica, the DBJ. The DBJ, no, not the, well, maybe they're a government entity, but the DBJ commissioned a detailed study on a national highway project looking into the technical feasibility, the proposed routes, the environmental challenges, the social challenges, and the economic potential of having a road to run from Kingston to Montego Bay and from Kingston to Ocho Rios. That is Highway 2000. Later, the leg from Kingston to Portmore was added, but originally the road was to run from Kingston to Mobay and Kingston to Ocho Rios. And although the road is being built in pieces now, when the studies were done and the project started, or the feasibility, everything started, it was to build the road in one go. Kingston to Mobay, Kingston to Ocho Rios, Kingston to Portmore. In one go. Highway 2000 was one project. As you know, it was later divided up into separate projects because of the cost. And the project has been going for probably over 2006, probably over 20 years, almost 20 years. And it's still not complete. The Kingston to Mandeville leg, well, Kingston to Maypen is finished, Kingston to Ocho Rios. So what's Kingston to Portmore is finished. So Maypen to Mandeville is under construction, should finish next year, and then the Mandeville to Montego Bay leg is going to be built. And they're building a perimeter road in Montego Bay to take you from Bogue to Anshore. And I suspect that Highway 2000 will eventually lead from Mandeville to that road in Anshore. Okay, so the DBJ did this study, and the study was positive and concluded that with the right structure and incentives, such a project could be done. Now, saying you want to build a highway that costs over $1 billion and actually doing it is two different things. So basically they went to the government, and the Prime Minister at the time was PJ Patterson. And when he heard about this project, he said, yes, let's do it. He was a champion for the project, and he was for the project from the beginning to the end. He made this Highway 2000 a top priority of his administration. Top priority. And now we're going to go into the different steps that went into building a highway, and you'll see just how difficult it was. Okay, so Highways 2000's basic premise was that from any airport or seaport in Jamaica, you should be able to get to any residential zone or tourist attraction within 1.5 hours. Highway 2000 was originally a single project. Route 1, Kingston to Montego Bay, Route 2, Kingston to Ocho Rios, and it was estimated to cost US $850 million. And the government was looking for one investor to implement the entire project. Now remember, we said before this, to ask somebody to invest $1 billion in Jamaica was unheard of. There is no Jamaican financial institution that was going to lend you $1 billion US to build a road. So those were the challenges that they were facing. But I just want to point out here that because of what Highway 2000 has done, you have other government projects since then that are being funded by local banks and local companies. Okay, so the first step they decided, the government was fully behind the project, so they decided, okay, they're going to start the project. So before you actually get to the building, you have to get to the paperwork part, basically. So a request for expression of interest, REOI, was issued by the government of Jamaica in 1999. This was to build the highway in one go. In response, 67 submissions were received. The government then issued the request for qualification, an RFO, and the government got 17 submissions. So basically, the first one, expression of interest, the government said, okay, who is interested in building this highway and funding it, blah, blah, blah. Now, because you were going to international entities or foreign companies to build this project, you had to use a lot of big name consultants, finance people. So the list of the names are there. A lot of foreign companies that would add credibility to the project. So if ABC company says we're going to build a road, here are the numbers, that's one thing. But if a big international finance company or consulting firm that has done this kind of work for other governments in the past says, we're going to build this road, here are the numbers, people are more inclined to take or to rely on the numbers from the foreign company, the one that has the experience. So money was spent to get these big name consultants on board. Okay, so the RFO, the request for qualification, that was to basically say, listen, are you qualified to build this road? They got 17 submissions. Okay, then they had a pre-bid conference. So out of the 17 who answered the request for qualification, 7 were invited to attend a pre-bid conference. Now, from the 7, 4 were invited to bid. And then those 4 eventually became 2. So 2 persons put in a bid. However, both the persons that put in those bids said, this project is going to be too expensive to build in one go. And both persons who put in the bid said the project should be split up into parts. So you have part 1A, which was the Kingston to Sandy Bay leg, which was built. Then you had 1B, which was Sandy Bay to Mandeville. Now, that 1B was eventually broken up further so that you would go from Sandy Bay to Maypen, and that has been built. Phase 2A was Kingston to Ocho Rios, and then Mandeville to Montego Bay. Now, the Kingston to Ocho Rios leg has been built. So, the government agreed and both persons put in their bid for the project. Now, the government then said, okay, we need your best and final offer. Basically, your final bid. That's what you call a BFO, best and final offer. And the government called for the final bid offers on May 3rd, 2001. Okay, so after they got both offers, but before they decided they chose the one that they were going to use. And the contract was awarded to Bogues, a French company. And the DBJ, okay, the government accepted the bid, I should say, for Bogues to be the contractor to build this project. Then the DBJ, the Development Bank of Jamaica, approved it. The National Contracts Commission approved it. And in June 2001, Cabinet ratified the decision to appoint Bogues, Travix, Publix as the preferred bidder, basically making them the contractor for the project. And during this entire process, remember the first offers were, the first request for interest went out in 1999, and then the bid was, or the contractor was approved in 2001. So during that entire process, the PJ Patterson led government was in power, and they stayed on top of this project from beginning to end, or from the, how would you say, the thought phase to the actual implementation, or the starting where they started to build the highway. So Jamaica really owes Mr. Patterson a debt of gratitude, and both, no, this at the time probably still remains the largest project ever implemented in Jamaica. So you can imagine every step of the way it was scrutinized, and basically every step of the way politics was involved. We're not a political channel, so we're not getting into the politics behind it. But when the highway was renamed the PJ Patterson Highway, there was no question that he deserved that honor. Now, when the highway was being built, that was a different story. I'm going to read a quote that a politician stated, just to give you an example of how hard it was. Yeah, I'm looking for the quote, but I'm not finding it. Okay, here is the quote. And this was the quote attributed to Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson is most deserving for the honor, pointing out that spearheading development of a modern highway network was an example of a visionary leader at its best. There were many people who were against this project. Many people. Another politician said Mr. Patterson's decision to persevere with the highway development despite the skeptics was right. Okay? And that's an opposition leader, the person who said that, was in the opposition at the time. And they said his perseverance to continue the highway was correct. And since Highway 2000, a lot of foreign investment has come into Jamaica. Basically, this highway pointed out to the world, guess what? You can invest in Jamaica. The airports have gotten investments. Those kind of things. And now, Jamaica is probably seen so it's so much investment in highways around the nation because everybody has seen the economic impact that building these highways have for Jamaica. I mean, can you imagine getting from Kingston to Ocho Rios in 45 minutes on a highway where you don't have to worry about traffic delays or it has opened up the North Coast to so much business opportunity. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe. Have a good day.